This is the Comedy Kiosk, podcast by Monday and Munoz. Please welcome Monday and Munoz.
Welcome to the Comedy Kiosk, a podcast in which we discuss news, opinions, and ideas about comedy. I'm David Munoz.
And I'm Igor Monday.
And today's topic is, dun 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 dun, cancel culture.
That sounds not like a topic, but like a show we should do for TV. Where there is a mystery guest behind the curtain. We first reveal all the tweets, all the horrible things they've done, and then the curtain comes down and we're like, and the cancelled person of this week is Harvey Weinstein.
Yay!
So you already have a jingle as well. Yes. So this we came up with this topic, I guess, together. This is one of those that just came to us organically after just conversing about recent news and especially stand-up, some, let's say, offensive, edgy, whatever, comments, bits, specials. And we just decided that, especially since recently Dave Chappelle's latest special was released, which received a lot of backlash, that it's the right time to discuss this topic and to cover some kind of questions. Should there be censorship? Does freedom of speech apply to this, about this specific instance and special and so on?
Oh, I kind of disagree in how to come about the show. I think it's the topic. It's the elephant in the room for a lot of comedians these days. Is the topic of cancel culture. It's a topic that many comedians discuss almost ad nauseum over and over again. I think in a way we've kind of avoided it, but we've just kind of, it's just so ubiquitous. It's so in the background, and you're just like, yeah, everyone has their opinion, and we've just, I don't know. It just seems very kind of repetitive. But I think now, like you said, with this Dave Chappelle's thing, the closer, I think maybe this is an appropriate time to bring it up. Yeah. Because it's sort of brought it back up again into the kind of more of the front of the conversation rather than just being in the background constantly. Because you always get the comedian who rolls their eyes and goes, oh, cancel culture. You can't say anything these days. Like, Jesus, they've ruined comedy. And then you have people who have opposing views and, the counter eye roll, of course you would say that, but it's usually in the background. Now, let's actually discuss it. But before we do, we have lots of social media these days. We have a lot of presence now in Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and of course on Podbean, which hosts our site. So please sign up, subscribe, leave comments. You can go to any particular episode. We have like a post about each one. You can go underneath, write a comment about it, give your opinion. And also you can give us suggestions about our show. You can suggest how we can improve, some criticisms, which we fully accept, and also ideas for topics. We also have Patreon, so if you want, you can also donate some money. That would be greatly appreciated to help us create this. And if you can't, we understand completely. But then in that case, as an equal alternative, you can share our podcast to your friends. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so, so much. All right, so Igor, cancel culture. Is it a real thing or isn't it?
Well, I think, as we said, that what prompted us to actually finally tackle this topic and cancel culture, as you said, was Dave's new special, The Closer.
Yep.
So I think let's start there and let's see what actually, first of all, what is it about and what we kind of thought of it, our thoughts, and just to understand, is it really so bad? Is it really a reason to cancel someone, etc.? And then we can move on to the general topic of other cases and other situations where people have been called out on the stuff they said and the groups of people that got offended and so on. So you've seen the special on Netflix, Dave Chappelle, The Closer. In his words, his last special for a while.
Yeah.
He didn't say like it's the last he'll ever do, but in this kind of package deal with Netflix, I get that he had, it's the final one in a series and for the time being. And he wanted to address some things from his previous specials where people were offended, insulted, triggered, etc. Namely, I guess, two groups of people that one is transgenders who called
that was
him,
the big one,
who called him transphobic for his comments during one of his earlier specials, Sticks and Stones, right?
But as Dave pointed out, his image as a transphobic person is much older than Sticks and Stones. It goes back to when he actually finished his Chappelle show that he used to have on, what was it, Comedy Central or whatever. Like when he did that, and he did like a show afterwards, someone had written an article. So he explained in the special that his label as being transphobic is actually quite old. It's from 10 years ago. And it's something that's kind of dogged him, as he puts it, or not as he puts it, but as he kind of says, is it's been dogging him since those days, constantly following him around, that no matter what he says, is the way he puts it is no matter what he says, it always pops up, or people will take it the wrong way, and people will say, you're transphobic, and in a way he's trapped, he can't get away. So in this show, I noticed like he was almost embracing being transphobic. Like, you know, he started making jokes where he's like, and then I pushed him away. Why? Oh, because I'm transphobic. Like, he was basically saying, well, that's obviously what I am. That's how you think of me. So I have to act this way.
Well, it's the label that was, let's say, forced on him. And now he uses that label that's what he calls himself for, I would say, the third act of the special, once he's established this hatred that he gets, why and how it started and so on. And he starts even using it as a punchline. So he owns that term of like, I am transphobic, which I don't think he really is, but as people are calling him that again and again.
Yeah, it's almost like he's saying, fine. If you can't beat him, join him. Like, okay, fine.
For you, I'm transphobic. That means for you, that in your mind, that's I'm transphobic. That's it. But okay, so we both watched it. What did you think of it? First of all, as a stand-up special.
I liked it. I thought it was good. I think he established from the beginning his style. Oh, I don't want to ruin the punchlines, but the space one that he refers to a couple of times, I think kind of started establishing the way he does twists, the way he does a lot of shock value sort of stuff.
I mean, he does say in the first maybe 2 or 3 minutes, it is going to get worse.
Yeah. And
he does say like, this is just something like this is just the beginning. So it really sets the tone for this.
Exactly. So he really, you do get an idea of what his style is from the beginning, and you know it's just going to get more intense, and that you're not supposed to take anything seriously. And he goes for everyone. Like he made fun of Jews, black people, I think Latinos at one point. I can't remember. But he goes through like all these, basically everyone is fair game. And he goes on then about like gay and things like that. And then, eventually he gets to the whole transgender issue. He starts kind of making jokes about that. So I think this is where it's, which is the interesting thing, because he does make fun of a lot of other groups as well. Like, it's not just one group that he's targeting. He's not targeting anyone. He's just kind of blanketing. But this is the one that's kind of firing back, it seems. Or the one that's sort of asking for him to be cancelled in a way, or at least some people in this community, which is another thing that he brings up as well, is that he has friends in this community who don't have a problem with him. They know him not as a transphobic person, but just as Dave Chappelle, a mate. And, he does that sort of, he mentions those things, which, though that I want to bring up later on as a different alternative sort of question to you. But for now, just the special. I like in general, he sets it up. Some of the shock things I think are a little bit simple. Like I get it. I get what he's doing it. Overall, I liked it.
I think I can't say that, it was just a review as a stand-up special without any, looking at who he might have offended and what he said. I found some things to be very smart and funny. I found some things to be just an old man venting. You know what I mean? It's kind of, as an old man, I mean like an experienced man that went through stuff during the course of his career. And this is his way of like, please, like, hear me out. Okay, I have the podium now. I have the audience. Listen to me, right? That he just did it as a platform for him to speak his mind. Yeah. But as for some kind of comedy value, I think it was a solid special. I can say that I enjoyed it as much as I can enjoy just, Dimitri Martin special that's about nothing. It's just an hour of one-liners and I will laugh my ass off, because I think comedy it can have a story, it can have that individual, like, personal touch, it can be groundbreaking, it can talk about sensitive topics. I don't deny any of that, but at the end of the day, I can't say I laughed as much as I can laugh at just some dad jokes, one-liners, So I can say that it was hilarious. I do think it had some other kind of value, which is that kind of, what is freedom of speech? What can we say nowadays? What kind of world we live in? This cancel culture stuff and so on. So as a special, I think it was, 6.5 out of 10. I would say it's just a stand-up special. But if we go into the content of the special, a lot of that was his response to backlash to his previous specials from different communities especially the transgender community, that took it personally and took it to Twitter and took it to some kind of media outlets and platforms to express their opinion and to label him as transphobic. Which, watching this special, if I would say that he hates anyone and that he's being rude, mean, and disrespectful to anyone, right? Yeah. I would say it's white people.
Oh, that's what he says that. That's one of his lines.
Yeah. I know it's one of his lines, and he accepts that and confirms that. But I still don't feel, I mean, I get it, okay? I get it. Slavery happened. America still has racial issues. There is a huge gap. There is still like things like what happened last year with police and with African Americans. It's a real issue. I don't deny that. But I think as bad as it is, for me, imagine a white comic doing a 1 hour special and saying every 5 minutes, I hate blacks.
Okay, now this is difference in culture though, Igor. This is where I have to say, and I do get the argument, but I mean, it's a whole different background. I mean, because the black culture has never been, except maybe in Africa before Europeans arrived. But I mean, after Europeans, like they haven't at any point dominated another culture, right? Yet white cultures have been doing this. From different countries have been doing it. The Spanish did it in South America. The Dutch did it in South Africa and Indonesia. The British did it in India and different parts of Africa. So did the French. So did the Italians. It's like everyone had a go at it. I think even Russians tried it at some point. You know, everyone tried to create their empire, and that meant like subjugating another group of people. And they all were people who were not white, sort of thing, right? So, I mean, just to say that white people were doing it to white people beforehand as well. I mean, look at the British and the French and the Vikings and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's just that it went international.
That's the thing. White people did it to white people. White people did it to brown, black, Latino people as well. But also black people did it to black people. He gives an example of that when a black slave who was released.
Actually, that was a very interesting story.
And it's a real story. It's a historical story. I checked it.
And actually, all of Liberia is that story. If you look at the history of the country of Liberia, which was given to slaves, a lot of them started incorporating the same things that had been done to them. They were then doing it to the African people, the indigenous people there.
That's why, in my mind, going back to, I know history happened and we shouldn't ignore it or delete it. We should learn from it. But we should learn from it, not call back upon it, not refer to it. So I'm saying, like, in today's world, if we want equality, if we want a black man and a white man to be equal, then if white men cannot hate on the black people, and then black people cannot hate on the white people.
But and this is different. This is where, but this is like 200 years of this oppression. And also the second thing is like the white people, they haven't had this, they've been privileged at this point. This is the whole point of the privilege. This is why making fun of a white person is not as bad, because you're punching up. This is the whole punching up, punching down thing, in which Dave Chappelle also mentions about punching up, punching down. But this is where like, and this is where in a way it's kind of interesting seeing Chappelle discuss about punching up, punching down and things like that. And the whole thing is, well, that's what his career is based on. He's punching up towards white people. Like, that's what his whole thing. And what people are now criticizing him of, or at least what the transgender community and those who support it, and I put that in quotation marks, are saying is that, yeah, he punches up and then all of a sudden he's now punching down, like to an even smaller minority group sort of thing. This is where the argument comes in. It's the fact that the reason why black people can make fun of white people, and pretty much almost anyone can make fun of white people, is because white people are in a position of power and privilege in the world at the moment. This is the position. You know, if eventually, let's say Asia took over, let's say China ended up conquering the whole world and, you know, started beating up on white people, and we then went through a couple of 100 years, then then it would be acceptable to make fun of Chinese people, because they would be at the top and they'd be like the ones who'd been impressing us for 200, 300, 400 years. And then it wouldn't be cool for us to like hurt on each other. You know what I mean?
No, I get the concept. And what he says, and what I think every comedian should do, is you punch straight forward, right? You punch not up or down, you just punch. That's the whole thing. You're just observing, making conclusions, making it funny. It doesn't, he's not trying to take down the regime of white people. He's not trying to make fun of transgender people. He just sees things, comments on them, makes people laugh, earns money on that. That's his whole job. That's, I think, every comedian's job is, and every actor, singer, producer, whatever, whoever has a platform to speak their mind, to influence people, whatever, you should just do your job without it being in like if there is a need to start a revolution to really take down some horrible regime and so on, that also happened in history. Of course, speak up, speak your mind, like get people going or whatever, support it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that even he admits that he's not punching up or punching down. He's not attacking white people because they're on top, and he's not making fun of transgender people.
I think he is punching up. That's just it. Like, even if he says, I'm not doing that, but you're benefiting from it. You are benefiting from the fact, like you were saying, a white guy cannot make those jokes about black people, but he can make those jokes about white people, and he can call them crackers and fuck you, motherfucker, and shit like that. You white prick. He can say that, and it's funny, and white people will laugh. We all will laugh. Because he is punching up. Even if he doesn't call it punching up, that is what he is doing, though. That's why it's acceptable.
Well, in any case, I think, if there was one group of people, I won't say minority, of course, because it's the oppressors, it's the bad guys, it's the white people, the whites, as he calls them, calls us. Both of us are white people. But I mean, that's the group he's going after. That's like the jokes.
That's always been his thing. As a black man, he's talking from his perspective.
But I would say that he's definitely not transphobic and definitely not like sexist or misogynistic, even though, again, he has these jokes, it's an LEG joke from like 2002. You have to respect your bitches. It's kind of...
he does play a lot around with
this kind
that.
of stuff, and he calls all the white people whites or whatever. He calls all the women bitches, and he calls all the transgender people just basically, he calls them by wrong pronouns, that there was a lesbian who he called a he constantly, and stuff like this, which again, people are going to get offended and they're going to jump on this cancel train and hype train. But I think it's because nowadays people are getting super sensitive and soft and take whatever they want as a personal attack. So I think there was no attack on any groups of people in this special. It was a comedy special that was meant to be exactly that. It's not like he's not a president, he's not a politician, he's not a whatever, he's a comedian. Right. So I think in that bubble, the freedom of speech trumps any complaints or any, it hurt my feelings. He has even this joke, and many comedians nowadays really, they call back to this, because he's like, well, have you paid to see my show? You've seen this joke during a live show? And the woman's like, no. Have you seen it on Netflix and whatever? So like, this is real life. Leave me alone. What I do there and what it's my work. So
it's my persona. It's an act. It's a characterization.
Similar to what happened to Jimmy Carr. He mentioned it recently on one show where he was approached by a guy after the show that apparently didn't enjoy it. And he was like, man, what is this? What is this show? It's complete trash. I paid for it and I was so disappointed. This is horrible. No better than last year. Right? Which means like you paid a ticket. You know who I am. You know what comedy I do.
You paid last year. You came.
You paid last year. You came and you came again. And you paid exactly the same thing and to get disappointed again. No one's forcing you to watch it. It's on Netflix. It's not, it wasn't, somehow... You
didn't even pay individually for it. You've paid for a subscription, which covers everything.
Yeah.
And you can really easily switch it off within 15 minutes. And then that means the algorithm would show like, oh, people never finished this program. Obviously, it wasn't popular. People are curious. They start it, but they never finish it. Let's not give it another one.
Yeah. So I guess if it's not for you and if you mind it, don't watch it. Then there is this argument that, but it shouldn't exist. He shouldn't have the right, the platform.
It shouldn't have the ability to even enter into your consciousness.
Yeah, to say such things,
or poison you, or poison children who might watch it.
Yeah,
for example, the children is always the big thing.
I don't think children are. Well, I mean, there is definitely on Netflix and stuff like age restriction. You have to be over 18, even on TV, on cinema. They have always those the PG-13, the R rating, and so on. But I mean. The idea
I still watched R rating things when I was 13.
Well, yeah, but the idea is that you can't say whatever you want. You can't be intentionally, ignorant, offensive, rude, mean, and just make fun and hurt other people's feelings and their lifestyles and their choices and their, especially things that people are sensitive about, like sexuality, this kind of stuff, race, and religion, and so on. I think that's most of the backlash, that you just shouldn't have the platform to say such mean and horrible things. But my problem is I didn't see any mean and horrible things in that special. I saw a man who is questioning things, which I think is normal kind of human thought process. Like, he's like, what is with, like, I didn't even know that this was offensive. I didn't even understand that this happens, and things like, just a man giving his peace of mind, right? Giving his opinion and his point of view. There was no part of this special. If you watch it as a stand-up special, you have to keep in mind, this is a stand-up special. Yeah. If you watch it as a stand-up special, then you understand these are jokes. If you watch it, if he came, like, if this man stopped in the middle of, I don't know, Central Park and started shouting, like, I'm transphobic, trans people this, trans people that, then that's different. Because that's not in the bubble of stand-up comedy. He's not trying to be funny. He's trying to preach some ideas, right?
Well, this is kind of Netflix's argument for not cancelling him, is basically Netflix has also said the same sort of remark in kind of response to this, that it's a stand-up special, and that stand-up has a different type of freedom of speech than everyday speech. Like stand-up comedy is a different style of free speech. It has a different level or a different rules.
Yeah. Well,
do you reckon that's true?
I think that's true, because it's all about, and Ricky Gervais is always a great example of this, I think, and he explains it in his latest special that's on Netflix as well, Humanity, also about similar thing about Caitlyn Jenner and transgender and some mistake he made by, what do you call it, like dead naming her, calling her by her, like by using male Bruce name and stuff. Yeah, and that he didn't even know about those things, but he learned his lesson the hard way and stuff like this. But it's always the question is, where does it come from? If it comes from a bad place, it's bad. If it comes from a good place, it's not bad. And that's it. If you're saying these things to actually hurt people or to put them down or to insult them, then it's obviously a bad thing. If you're saying these things to sell your Netflix special, to make people laugh, then it's not a bad thing. Because it's definitely a thing that, you can have an opinion without hating people. Any opinion. I can have an opinion that it's wrong to be vegan. Yeah. I don't care. Eat whatever you want. But I can have an opinion that it's wrong to be vegan without hating vegans. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I know what you mean. But I think the point that these groups are making is they're not saying that, I mean, maybe they are, but okay, so maybe it's not that the thing is said with bad intent, but it may be that they feel like it's belittling or making it seem frivolous. Like, for example, this dead naming thing. I remember, I do remember that. It was very, interesting what he was saying, that he didn't know, and he had used the name Bruce instead of Caitlyn, I believe. Yeah. So, because at the time when Caitlyn achieved these things, Caitlyn was in the body of a man with a male's name, and so that's why he used it. Not realizing that you're not supposed to do that anymore. Now you're supposed to, everything is retroactive, and now Caitlyn is the winner of all those things, and Caitlyn won the men's decathlon. And then he mentions something, and then towards the end, he just drops the name Bruce anyway. Right? As kind of a bit of a fuck you, but it's not a mean-spirited fuck you. But the point is, by doing that, I can understand maybe someone might say, well, he's making it frivolous. Like, he's kind of saying, yeah, this whole dead naming thing is just pointless. Like, it's just stupid. But for some people, it is very important. And by making it into a joke, even if it's not, you're not doing it with a mean spirit, you're not doing, but it's sort of kind of saying, oh, this whole argument is just a waste of time, or it's not important, when for them it is a very important issue.
Yeah, but I think we touched upon that topic when you talked about censorship and stuff like this, and what you can say in comedy. And I would say that if it's a joke, that's it. If it's a joke, if you're not preaching some ideology, if you're not starting a religion or a political party or a revolution or whatever, if it's a joke, if it's in the context of a joke. So if I joke about killing, it does not make me a killer. It does not make me condone and approve of killings. And it does not make me make fun of you for losing a loved one to murder. Yeah. It's just a joke about killing. It has nothing to do with you, nothing to do with me, it's just in human civilization, human history, there is killing other people is a thing.
Yeah.
And that's that. That's only, and it's a joke about the concept of a person A murdering a person B. That's it. It's not about you and who you lost. It's not about, so unless it's personal, unless it's hateful, and unless it's coming from a dark, bad place, I think and none of that I've seen in Dave's special. I've seen a man who is trying to tackle a concept that he's not fully comfortable with or does not fully understand, and just trying to through his own way process these differences and stuff. And what he's saying is that basically the cancel culture is now just out to get anyone who disagrees with any of that, unless you're tiptoeing around everyone constantly, you will be called out to that, and you will be labeled as a transphobic or homophobic or sexist or whatever.
Okay, the thing you mentioned before, like something he maybe not that familiar with it, but I noticed there was one part, I can't remember if it was this special or the other one, but he was talking about feminism and how he looked up the dictionary definition of feminist. Was that this one? Yeah, that was the closer, yeah. And then he makes the comment of, now, like any man, like I have a mother, I have sisters, blah, blah, blah. He used that argument, which a lot of people are basically now starting to call it. Well, not even now. Like last year, I remember hearing people calling out when some politicians were like, well, I have a mother, I have a sister, so I know what it's like. And it's like, why? Does that mean that if you don't have a mother, does that mean automatically if you're an orphan, you're a bastard? Like, because you've never had a mother or a sister?
No, you're a bastard if you don't have a father.
Yeah, exactly. So get your terminology right. So, but the point is like, people use that argument. And when the transphobic thing was coming up, he did mention that one of his, old time really great friends was a transgender woman in San Francisco. And he went on a huge story, which was a great story. And the ending of it was very, poignant and all the rest. But the whole point is that usually that argument of, and he did it in the first special, I know he did it where he talked about also another trans, and he mentioned another one. It's usually that sort of the argument being, well, I have a transgender friend who's totally fine with this, and they come to all my shows and they laugh at all my jokes. So, you're obviously wrong. Or I have a feminist friend, I have a brother, I have a sister, I know what it's like. Like, do you think this argument is being used? Do you think he was using that a bit?
Well, that's the, I'm not racist, I have one black friend. That's the kind of argument.
Yeah.
But yeah, or like I'm not feminist, I have a mother. I don't think that's what he was going for. I think he was going for a story where, bottom line, right? If you're an actual racist, for example, racist, I mean, people, white person who hates black people or any other people of color, right? If you're an actual hater to an extent where they were basically, burning crosses in front of people's houses, trying to chase out people from communities and stuff. If you hate a person of color, you will not be friends with them, with any of them. You will just not. So I think he was. So if you say, I'm not racist, I have one black friend, that kind of works because, if I say that I don't agree with vegan lifestyle, for example, right? I say I don't agree with vegan lifestyle. I eat meat, but you eat. If you want to be a vegan, and we'll still be friends, right? So, but if I say I hate vegan lifestyle and I hate you for it, then I wouldn't be friends with you. So I think the story is basically showing that he doesn't care, and that's what she tells him as a part of the story. He doesn't care if she's transgender or not. He cares how she sees him, and she cares how he sees her.
Yeah, like recognize that I'm going through just an experience, a human experience.
Yeah, I'm just a human. Yeah. It doesn't, and all these labels people put on themselves, and that's why he talks about something, and people from that group, from that community, or from that layer of society or whatever, they go like, "Oh my God, he's talking about me." No, he isn't. No. You know what I mean? Like it's so when I'm a white person. When he was saying, whites this, whites that, blah, blah, what I really hate is whites, I didn't feel offended. Because I wasn't like, oh, wait, he's talking about me, Igor Monday, a Croatian comedian that lives in Moscow. How does he know? And why does he hate me? Boo, Yeah. But he literally said, I hate white people, and all my jokes and stuff are about basically making fun of white people. Yeah. But I didn't feel offended. Not because I'm a majority, but because I don't take it personally. He's not talking about me. You know what I mean? So I think when people start taking things personally, especially jokes that are not about you, it's a joke. When people start taking jokes personally, that's why he was giving that story as an experience between him, a comedian, and her beginner comic audience member transgender person.
Yeah.
Not about him, an African American transphobic comedian, and her, a white blonde transgender girl, woman. No, it was just about a person to person.
Yeah, and he brings up at the end, like, he actually identifies with her because, as he puts it, his people are comedians.
Yeah.
Like that, at the end, that's the group that he identifies with. And color and gender and things are not important for him, but rather he tries to set forward the idea is like, when you talk about my people are actually comedians, fellow entertainers, fellow comedians.
Yeah. So this is, I think people forget that you don't have to be labeled as one thing, one thing only, and how that girl actually laughed at many jokes and enjoyed it and so on, because in addition to being a transgender girl, she was also a comedian. Yeah. So, it's
an aspiring comedian at that point.
Yeah, you don't have to be one kind of person. You don't have to be one label, one characteristic, and you don't have to let someone define you as that or insult you as that. It's kind of how you see things. That's why I think all this, if we talk about specials and comedians, I think it all goes because I truly hope that Dave Chappelle is not transphobic. He does not hate transgender people.
Yeah.
If he does, then,
that's his problem.
He'll burn in hell, whatever. But I mean, I really hope that he's not using Netflix as a platform to oppress transgender people. Yeah. And I believe. I believe he's a comic.
I think you can see the special, you can see it. And I do think that the big thing, of course, what everyone always talks about when you're talking about this sort of, what to cancel, what not to cancel, and all the rest, is see everything in the full context. And I think if you watch the special, I think you'll see maybe you'll think that maybe he didn't do some of the bits were a bit ham-fisted, maybe, or maybe it could have been done better. But overall, I think you'll get the idea that no, he's not actually transphobic. He just likes to poke fun at everyone and basically ribbing on people. But at the same time, I do get why people would get sensitive about it. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I don't see like you can't. I've gotten sensitive at things. Like there was a joke a friend of mine made when Trump got voted in. It was about Melania and how kind of comparing it to the Kennedys because they were trying to compare Trump to the Kennedys. Well, in that case, Melania, Trump's going to get assassinated. Melania's going to then go off, and the punchline was and end up marrying a rich wog. Now, wog is a derogatory term for Mediterranean people from the Mediterranean region of Europe in Australia, right? This is the term. So I'm a wog. And I saw a lot of people have to deal with that. I only copped a little bit of it, but occasionally it did, touch on me. But this is sort of, that's the racist word for my people, apparently. They're my people. And when my friend made that remark, I was like, did you have to use the word wog? Because the joke's about Melania basically following this thing of Kennedy. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, she's following the Jackie analysis. But did you have to use the word wog? Couldn't you just say a rich Greek guy? Like, as in, was the word wog necessary for the punchline? There, you're just trying to throw in a second. Look, you're trying to say a lesser person, like ditching and end up marrying as seeing the word wog lesser sort of European, because it's not the right kind of white. Yes, even in Australia sometimes there is the not right kind of white. you can still be white but not quite there.
You see, we don't white people, we don't need black people to be racist. We will be racist to each other.
That's what do you think people made fun of the redheads in England before brown skinned people or tanned people or olive skinned people arrived to Great Britain? They had redheads. They're already trying to find someone. They will find anyone. Yeah. We will find anyone at all to make fun of.
If your pigment is slightly different than mine, you're done.
Yeah, that's it. But you're out.
Yeah, I think the thing is, again, well, for example, during the whole special, he calls women bitches. That's his whole, that's basically the word he's substituting, just woman or a girl or whatever. Yeah. It's a bitch. It's always, doesn't matter, young, old, white, black, transgender.
Even his wife.
Yeah, he's just, you can say that that's inappropriate, right? That's inappropriate. That's a bad word that's a female dog, and you're calling your wife and all other women bitches, right? It's a bad word. I get it. Maybe it's not nice to hear it, and I agree that maybe it's not nice to use it as well. Why use it when you can say a woman when there is a normal, not like loaded term and misogynistic and offensive term? Why use it? I get it. I get all of that, but also, this kind of cancel culture movement is trying to turn words into actions, which is not true. And we talked about it, I think, before. If you are Harvey Weinstein, if you are Bill Cosby and stuff, if you've done something bad, you should be canceled. If you've done something bad, if you've talked about something bad, you know what I mean? It's, I get it. I get why, like, Hitler and Nazis are bad. I get why. I'm not like, I'm not saying that it's okay. But so killing a Jewish person is bad. But joking about Jewish person is not bad. It's just joking. You know what I mean? So I'm saying that, like, even...
But then some people might say that people can use jokes then to infiltrate an idea into the people's head as the first step in indoctrination, for example.
That's taking it too far, and I think this whole cancel culture is taking things too far. There is basically two things. You can get offended, or you can laugh at it. If it's a joke, right? You're watching a special, you hear something inappropriate. You can get offended or you can laugh at it. If you laughed at it, then you have no right to complain about it. Because the joke did its job. It made you laugh. So if you laugh at it and then complain about it, then you're the hypocrite, right? If you don't laugh at it, if you're offended by it, you have to think, why am I offended by it? If it's an offensive word or like a slur, whatever it is, just a bad word, like bitches instead of girls or something like this, okay, it's a fair point. But why are you here? Why did you buy tickets for this show then? Why did you turn on Netflix? Why did you turn on Dave Chappelle's comedy show instead of, I don't know, My Little Pony or something that definitely not going to have offensive terms in it? But
then someone argued they didn't know that Dave Chappelle had that sense. They never heard of him before. This was their first introduction.
Okay, so you saw that one joke, you didn't like it, turn it off. I've seen plenty of movies or content that I started watching it. It's not my thing, not my cup of tea. I turn it off. I don't go to Twitter and I'm like, this show has not met my expectations. It offended me and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen movies where, for example, there is a Croatian character who's portrayed as or usually it's kind of like ex-Yugoslavian Balkan character who's always portrayed as some kind of low-life ghetto gangster, something like this. And I'm like, oh my God, cancel this movie. Well, if it offends me, I'll just turn it off. I'll be like, okay, I don't want to watch this. It's in bad taste. Right? That's it. I don't get the need to collectively gang up on people, and not people who've done stuff. Of course, if we're talking about people who have done horrible things, cancel them. They should never get a role. They should never get a gig. They should never be paid for what they do again, because they're using a platform to harass and molest and hurt people. But if you're making jokes and that's what you're doing, but it also as a collateral damage offends some people, I think the audience member should think, like, if I laughed at it, okay. If I didn't laugh at it, if it offends me, then I'm just gonna ignore this comic. And I think, as you said, Netflix has algorithms. It can see how many people watched this special, how many people started and quit after the first bitch or N-word or whatever transphobic or transgender joke or whatever. And if it's more people don't watch it than watch it, he's not gonna get commission for another special. This is supply and demand. This is the market. You know what I mean? So Trump got elected as a president, then people stopped liking him, and he didn't get elected again. That's democracy. That's the vote of the majority. That's how it works.
Okay, so this is the next question then that I'd like to bring to you then. Whose responsibility is it to cancel then? I mean, because canceling is a thing, right? There's just different ways to do it. Now, should it be just the people doing it through through voting, or even writing and saying, look, this special you just released, I think sucks, just to let you know, whether you ask for it to be cancelled or not? Or should it be the company? Should they be the ones who then control their content and be aware of what they're about to put up, and maybe either put in a trigger warning beforehand and say, in this show, Dave Chappelle will discuss transphobia, blah, blah, blah. Please keep in mind, this is a comedy, in huge words, special. Like, don't take this to heart. But if you are truly offended, please feel free to write to us so that we can maybe control further content in future. Something like that. Whose responsibility is it? Or is it the comedian themselves? Is it the comedian who should just take the risk? And in this case, it's Dave Chappelle. And by the sounds of it, the way he's been handling it, from what I understand, is he's just sort of shrugged his shoulders and gone, yeah, fair enough. Okay. Well, in that case, we can sit down and discuss with it. And he was a little bit cheeky about it, his response to it.
No, you can see it through the whole special. He's very full of himself, and he's very pleased with his jokes and his stance on it. You can see on some points where he's doing the joke and he's smiling smiling to himself. He's like, I'm so smart for writing this joke. He's not afraid of it or ashamed of it at all.
Yeah.
Which, like he's not kind of, you can see he's not smiling, I think
he does love trolling a little bit.
So yeah, I think
he's a bit of a troll. He loves the fact that
he's pushing the buttons.
Yes.
He's pushing the buttons knowingly, not accidentally. That's the whole thing. Who should be the one to, well, I mean, you've said that, okay, what if Netflix puts a little disclaimer at the beginning? This show contains offensive terms and discussion of transphobia, this. They do that. They have an 18 plus rating. That means don't be a baby. This is adult content.
And if you are a baby, grow the fuck up, all right? I don't care if you're 2 months old.
Grow up, baby.
Grow up so you can watch this show.
Grow up, baby. But I mean, it does say it has this 18 plus rating, and it says this, and it has this general kind of default disclaimer.
But do you think there should be maybe another warning, basically saying this is kind of like a cancel culture, not a cancel culture warning, but as in these, we're going to deal with some.
If you want to cancel,
plus,
if you're waiting to cancel something, don't watch this show.
Yeah, exactly.
It could have, because that's exactly. And if you see that and continue watching, then you have no right to cancel and complain about it. If there is a disclaimer that says, if you're just waiting to catch someone saying something so you can cancel them, don't watch the show because you will be easily triggered. Okay, that could be
either that or fire up your Gmail because you're going to be sending us shitloads of emails.
I mean, sometimes it's in companies' hands, for example, and there have been cases, for example, who was it, Warner Brothers dumping Johnny Depp over that case and accusations of domestic violence.
Yes. Now we also have Disney with James Gunn for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He was initially dropped for that because of some tweets that he made a long time ago that were considered, what was it, homophobic or something like that?
I actually don't remember what the tweet was and what his offense was.
And he already had apologized, like 8 years ago, 8 years previously, he'd already apologized. Like he caught himself later on, like someone had brought it up and he was like, oh, yep, you're right, that was wrong. But he had to apologize again and he still got fired. And then he got brought back, which was sort of showing this is the point I'm trying to get at, where sometimes I think the companies are doing very knee-jerk reaction sort of things. I think they're so afraid of losing customers that they're willing to cancel someone before they should have seen all the angles first and looked at it in a level head. I think they're just hearing the loudest voices, not necessarily the majority and not necessarily the right voice. They're just hearing the loudest voice and they're quickly reacting to it, getting scared, because it's like Kevin Hart also got taken off the Oscars. Now, some would say that was justified. Others would say, no, it's not. Like, it was done a long time ago and he made some homophobic tweets about something about if his son came out as gay, he would beat him up or something, or something. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't very nice at all. But at that point, I don't remember them giving him a chance to really say something or discuss. But at the same time, someone could say, well, there's actions and consequences. You make these sorts of remarks. Be aware of the fact that cultures can change, society changes, and in future something that you say can be seen in a different light. But then you have to react to that, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think, first of all, someone made a very strong argument on that James Gunn case, where basically 20 years ago I couldn't read and write because I was a child or whatever, and now I can. I've learned something new and I've improved as a person. Why we take someone's tweets from 20 years ago as something that represents him today? I understand the thing about action and the consequences of actions, but he didn't stop getting roles or gigs then. They did it now, like retroactively.
And the thing was, he already actually had apologized. Like he had been busted for it beforehand, and he went, "Oh, you're right. Yes, that was wrong. I regret it. I'm totally sorry." And then it came up again a second time. It's like the dude's already apologized. Everyone moved on, and like you said just now, people have been hiring him since then.
I think it has to be in each individual case, and basically the question is this person a good person or not? Was it a mistake? Was it ignorance? Was it whatever? Or because in the case of, for example, Harvey Weinstein, one person came out, then second, then third, and then like 1,000 people agreed that he's a sleazy douchebag, right? A horrible person, monster. So there is no forgiveness. Not, oh, sorry, it was a mistake. No, there's 1,000 people who testify that you knew exactly what you were doing and you were doing it repeatedly again and again and again. But one tweet 15 years ago and apologizing right after or whatever, realizing your mistakes, definitely not the same. You should not lose all the gigs, all the money, all that you worked for in your professional development career and so on. That's why I think this cancel culture thing, I think it's necessary in our society to keep people in check. But I think at times it's taking too much power and you can be literally canceled for anything. Like that's why it's called the cancel culture. It's not called let's all be nice people culture. It's called they're out there to get you. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like you say one wrong word and there's like, aha, you said instead of he, you said she because 20 years ago he was a she. Okay, you're done, fella. You fucked up. You're done. Get the fuck out of my face. So you know what I mean. Like don't
but that's not the one that the people are getting cancelled over. It's not things like that. It's more stronger things. It was like I said, the Kevin Hart thing was, you know, the thing about if my son was gay. You know, it's a bit more on the nose. You know, it's a bit more, or in this case, you know, there are actually jokes that Dave Chappelle is making about transgender people. Now, I agree he shouldn't have been cancelled on it overall. Like, you know, no, not at all. It shouldn't be cancelled. But I do understand where it's coming from. I think right now the problem is, and I agree with what you're saying, it's a culture, the sense of, I think where, okay, to use the word woke or whatever, you know, society's kind of waking up or whatever, or it's kind of starting to reflect and realize, oh shit, some of the things we've been doing for a long, long time, no matter how far we think we've come in society, we're still doing some pretty bad things. We're still saying some pretty horrible shit without reason. I mean, I remember in the 90s using gay as a slur. Oh, that's so gay. You know, using that as a sort of a, you know, something was lame, something was stupid, something was just, it wasn't right. You would call it gay. You know, and you can see it in the Friends, like the TV series Friends. It's so dated because of that, because Joey and Chandler are constantly at one point saying to each other, oh, that's so gay. Because that was the thing. And I said it so much. And I remember getting busted on it once. Like, you know, obviously it got to a point where people stopped using it. I used it one day and someone who was gay obviously looked at me and went, why is it gay? What makes it gay? And I was like, what? He was like, what makes it gay? I was like, yeah, it was like, that actually was not related to gay culture whatsoever. But it was a slur that when you think back, you go, yeah, we shouldn't have used that. It wasn't done with malintention. It wasn't anything. I never thought about the gay community when I said that's so gay. But he was right. It's not the right word to say. But at the same time, I shouldn't get cancelled for it.
I get it. But it's kind of the same thing as, you know, if someone tells me, oh, be a man. You know, like I say, oh, I don't know what to do.
Oh, that's a trigger for me.
Someone
be a
goes,
man. What the fuck is a man?
Be a man. And I'm saying like, for example, especially when it's a Russian thing where there is like clearly set roles for gender roles for a man and a woman, and girls would have, like a guy wouldn't say this. It's not like a toxic masculinity thing where it's like you're not tough enough for me, boy.
No, it's usually from a girl.
It's girls like be a man, which basically says don't be a woman, which means there's something wrong with being a woman, which means you're disrespecting yourself.
There's something wrong with you trying to act like them.
Yeah, which means you're disrespecting yourself. You're saying being woman is not as good as being man. Okay. You know, like, so it's that's the kind of thing. So if you go into, you know, you can always go into that loop and question, is it a cultural thing? Is it a historical thing? Or are you just a bad person? I think we need to take everything with a grain of salt in the right context and analyze it as it is. This
is what I was saying about the Disney thing. They shouldn't have fired James Gunn straight away. They should have stopped. And I think this is where a lot of people's knee-jerk reaction is what I'm annoyed with. It's not the cancel culture itself. Fine, you can raise your awareness. You can say, I'm upset. You can say, I don't like this. I reckon absolutely brilliant. Yes, you have every right, just like that person, Dave Chappelle, has the right to make his jokes. And anyone else who wants to go against him and say, I don't agree with him, can also do that. That's absolutely brilliant. I just say don't do the knee-jerk reaction by the company in particular. Like, if you want to take a pause or suspend it until you resolve the matter, I get that. Like, if they said, look, we're going to take Dave Chappelle's show off Netflix for a month while we resolve this matter internally, and then we will make a decision whether it comes back or not, then fine.
That's what I don't like with this cancel culture is the hype. It's the hype train that people are jumping on the bandwagon, because it's more like, okay, yeah, take your time, analyze, give me proof, give me, you know, the reason.
Even do a survey. How many people are offended or not?
Please, like, I mean, definitely cancel Harvey Weinstein. Definitely cancel bad people who have proven to be the whole Me Too movement. We need such kind of things. We need people to speak up. Yeah. We need women to speak up. We need, I don't know, African Americans, the whole protests and riots last year and stuff against police, against the system and so on. We need that. But people need to speak up. People need to have freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and human rights. Yeah. But then that also then means that comedian has a freedom of speech and can say whatever he wants. You know what I mean? Like, you can't you can't take something but ignore the you can, you know, you have to take the full picture. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, definitely there should be, Well, for a long time, there wasn't. Up until maybe 10, 15 years ago, as you said, in the 90s, especially earlier, you could say whatever you want, even do whatever you want. And if you're in a position of power or whatever, you'll get away with it 100%. Now, it's not always going to fly.
And I think the other thing is people didn't feel as confident to say that was bullshit. Like,
and there was no platform for it. Maybe these media nowadays, like you can easily go on Twitter, tag someone and be like, this guy sent me a dick pic, unsolicited dick pic. What's that behavior? That's horrible. Cancel him.
Oh, no, but even like you can go on Twitter and just say, I just saw Dave Chappelle's new special and I think it's transphobic as hell because of this joke, this joke, this joke. Check it out for yourself. Tell me if you think you're right, if I'm right or wrong, or something like that. Or you can just say, I don't like Dave Chappelle's new show. Fine. You can go on Twitter. You can voice your opinion. And maybe, like we were saying before, the algorithms things, Netflix would pick up. I'm sure they keep their ear open as to the feedback they get from people. The thing is to get it. So what I'm saying, basically at the end, cancel culture as such is, I think, is just a reaction to things that have happened, for us waking up and seeing a lot of things that we used to do that was wrong, and now we're kind of going, all right, let's try to fix this. And like anything, it's not going to be done perfectly. I think sometimes there's overreactions. I think sometimes there's knee-jerk reactions. There's a lot of knee-jerk reactions. But I think it's like a pendulum swing. When you've been oppressed for so long, you then go in the opposite direction and go nuts. It's the same thing as, like, for example, when Russia finally got democracy, and then this place was like the Wild West. There was no control because it was just not used to it. You know what I mean? People go nuts, and then eventually a stability is formed, or you swing back in the opposite direction, which is, I think, the danger. I think we need to try to find this safe middle ground as quick as possible, where we deal with things reasonably. We listen to both sides, we listen to every side, and then we make our choice. And, well, it is a consumerist society. So at the end, we vote with our wallets, we vote with our voices, and it's a democracy, it's a consumerist culture. That's how we do it. That's the method it's done.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that, for a very long time, things have been done one way, and people are getting away with that with no consequences, with no kind of repercussions whatsoever. And now it's swinging the complete opposite direction, but I think any kind of extreme is always bad. So until it settles down and reaches some kind of nice balanced middle where you can get away with joking, but not get away with roofing girls' drinks, that's going to work. You get canceled for doing bad things. You don't get canceled for joking about a group of people, no matter who this group of people is, no matter who they are. If it's a joke, if you're not out there hunting transgender people and making them feel bad,
But even then, getting feedback, I think is also good. I mean, I have the example once where I have the Tolstoy bit where I had a girl come up to the stage afterwards who I'd met a few times. She's a lovely girl. And she said, look, I get what you're trying to do with the show. I think it's very funny. But at this point, it does sound a little bit misogynistic around this point. And it helped me reflect, because I started thinking about, okay, maybe I need to change this bit. I didn't get cancelled, because it wasn't coming out the way I intended. It's
because
not my intention.
You can't get cancelled in Russia.
Well, and also I'm not big enough to get cancelled.
Also you can't get cancelled if you're a nobody.
Exactly. But the point is that she came up and she told me, and I listened, and I think that's the big thing is the communication. Now, it doesn't mean that I have to stop. I can decide, you know what? I don't think it is. And I'm going to keep it, but I'm going to face the consequences to it, I think at the end of the day, I think stand-up comedy should be given a little bit of breath, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you can't face repercussions for the things that you say. It doesn't mean, I don't like the argument of, it's just a joke. No, you have to be aware.
No, you have to take responsibilities for the stuff you're saying.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is you have to, if it's a joke, it has to be a joke.
Yeah.
That's it. It has to be funny, and it has to be coming from a good place instead of a bad place.
Yep.
And it has to be written and performed in such a way that it's obvious that you don't mean it.
Yeah.
Right? So I can come on stage and be like, oh, hi, I'm a murderer. Yeah. And if it's obviously a joke, it's a setup, it's a premise for my punchline.
Yeah.
But if I come all bloody with someone's heart in my hand, then I'm an actual murderer, and you should call the cops. You know what I mean? So I think we can stop there. And I hope that you have your own opinion on Dave Chappelle special. If you're a stand-up lover and if you watched it, if you haven't, check it out and maybe let us know in the comments what you think.
I'm really curious to hear what you think. Please leave some feedback either on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Do you think both Igor and I are completely wrong and we're both cisgendered white males, heteronormatives who have no idea what the hell we're talking about? Which is a fair point, because maybe we're missing something completely. Completely take that on board. In which case, please enlighten us. If you agree with us, okay, great, or only partially.
Or if you don't agree with us, cancel us.
Go ahead.
Good luck. Try.
Yeah, try that.
Try try to get us have less viewers and listeners than we have.
Yeah,
Bring
it on.
Let's go,
buddy. So
thank you so much for listening. We've been the Comedy Kiosk. I'm Igor Monday.
And I'm Dave Munoz.
Goodbye.
Good night.